Hey folks, and welcome to War Thunder with Flying Dodo. Today we're going to be flying out the Spitfire Mark 14E. This is the Griffin Spitfire at 5.3 battle rating with two 20mm Hispanos and two 50 cal machine guns. This is aesthetically one of my favorite planes. The swept body, the cool looking canopy, the 5-bladed prop. Reminds me of an old sports car like the Jaguar E-Type, the MGA Roadsters, and some early Aston Martins. It doesn't hurt that it's a damned fine performer as well. You may have noticed that in the last few days, Gaijin is performing a test in realistic battles for an air start for the interceptor planes. This includes every Focke-Wulf 190 that this plane will face, as well as a few other German planes. The air start for these interceptors is about 2,000 meters with a speed of around 250 kilometers per hour. So while Norway isn't usually my favorite map, right now at least the Allied teams get a similar air start to the interceptor class aircraft that are currently being spammed by German teams. It's funny, I've been playing German planes too, and the 190 pilots love this feature. They say it helps balance their plane's performance versus Spitfires. But when I mention that it gives them a completely unfair advantage over American planes, they don't care. When I mention that they should side climb, just like German pilots tell American pilots to do, they often fly into a rage. The hypocrisy is strong with a lot of German pilots. Speaking of flying German planes, the game has auto-squatted me with a Spitfire pilot I had shot down in my last game while I was playing on the German side. His name is Freepoints, and you'll see he was a damned fine squad mate in this match. Let's get on to the fight. I have climbed around 7,800 meters, as I knew at least a couple 109s would be around that altitude, and I would attempt to bait them down to my lower teammates. If the Griffin Spits are your first foray into the higher tier Spits, that is, if you've bypassed most of the Spits after the Mark IIB, you'll find the Griffin's characters changed quite a bit from the earlier variants. It doesn't rip wings as easily and is capable of very high-speed dives and recovery from those dives. It's no longer a turn fighter, but a true energy fighter, great for B&Z runs, and I pull gently out of dives at around 800 kilometers per hour without breaking anything. With this in mind, I'm pretty sure I can bring these 109s down safely to my teammates while remaining relatively safe myself. I see a 109 about 7 kilometers out from me at slightly lower altitude, but as I turn towards him slightly, I notice a dot at my altitude in front of me. The first 109 I spotted seems to be traveling away from me, so I push on towards the dot on the horizon, as I don't want that dot on my 6 while I follow the 109 that I had spotted. The new plane, also a 109, pops into view, and I see him make adjustments to climb a bit more to dive on me. I'm traveling at a pretty good clip and have a little energy to spare, and it appears to me the 109 is at a lower energy rate. So I point my nose to where I think he'll be at around 1 kilometer's distance, make a quick burst to get his attention so that it'll follow me down to my teammates. That ends up being unnecessary, however, as one of my shells takes off his wing. I'll point out here that I've changed my convergence to 500 meters from 400 meters for these faster planes, as I find myself having to fire at longer distances, and 500 meters gives me a tighter spread at 1 kilometer than 400 meters does. With that first 109 out of the way, it's time to see what else I have going on below me. I see a 109 and some 190s below me, but see also the first 109 I had spotted being pursued by my auto-squatted teammate and a P-51. If I remember correctly, Freepoints is flying an LF model Spit, which does not have the same high-altitude engine performance as a 109, and the P-51's engine begins to pecker out at around 7K as well. And since I'm in a high-altitude plane with an altitude advantage, I want to help bring this higher 109 down to more manageable altitude for my teammates. Freepoints gets close enough to make the 109 turn, however, and he makes a pass on that G6 he'd been tailing. I see the other 109 I spotted join in the fight and decide to try to keep him off of Freepoints. The G6 attempts to follow Freepoints in a dive and then into a loop. I'm diving at an angle that I hope puts me in position to get him in my sights at convergence. I open fire on him, but I'm at slightly the wrong angle. I continue to loop and stay above and behind the G6 while Freepoints is baiting him. Freepoints kills the 109 null and then loops back up towards my target. Freepoints manages to loop fast enough to get a bead on him from below while I'm on his 6. I manage to hit him quite a few times and get a crit on his tail. You can see that even though the Griffin Spit loses much of the maneuverability compared to earlier versions, they still maintain very competitive roll and turn rates. I start to jockey for position again, but notice a new 109 entering the fray, at about 4 clicks out with an altitude advantage. With the G6 crit, I tell Freepoints to finish him as I head towards the new 109. A teammate has begun the engagement with the new 109, and I head over to assist. Since Freepoints appears to have the upper hand against my previous target, owing to altitude and the fact that the 109 has been fairly well damaged. It's important to force the enemy lower than you and your team, as altitude gives you an energy advantage over planes below you, as well as limiting their maneuverability, and switching between teammates to aid in forcing down the enemy, provided they are close enough to each other, can put your team in a much better position to win. Having to make the choice between following a damaged enemy down to the deck or staying high to help another teammate force down or kill an enemy at altitude, it's normally best to pick the latter. Free Point is dropped with the other 109 and is still engaging the G6 from earlier, but I guess that G6 finally hit the water and I'm awarded the kill. A quick pass on the new target with my teammate following him, and I use the opportunity to gain some altitude while he's losing altitude, as the other Spit is chasing him. I loop up over him and try to get a firing solution, but now he's diving and this other Spit and I begin a bait and switch run. The 109 is doing an admirable job of dodging most of our bullets, and I have to give it to him for staying alive during this engagement. But Free Points is dispatching the 190 that had been below us earlier, and I know he'll head towards us. Now this poor 109 will have 3 Spits to deal with. Sukyu, the other Spit, and I continue to harass Moto 490, and he's trying to head for a safer place to set himself up for a better position. But now Free Points is finally entering the engagement, and Moto is forced to turn back towards me. I also notice another 109 coming in, but it appears to me that Nachtjager in the P-51 is moving to intercept him, which I hope will give us enough time to take down Moto, and then move on to assist him. As the 109 moves back towards me and Sukyu, he tries to force a head-on with me, but only puts himself in a position for me to fire. A couple shells glance off his wing and he extends out the other side, but Free Points is there waiting for him. Free Points begins his attack while Sukyu dives at him, and the 109 is forced closer to the deck. I turn back to the engagement to continue my own attack on Moto 490. I open up with my machine guns, hoping to hit him, as I'm waiting to get a clear firing solution on him before I use any of my 20mm cannons, which I am now running low on ammo for. I'd like to again compliment this 109 on his evasive skills. We continue to pursue him, exchanging the times that we gain altitude advantages and targeting. I loop up and over, and Free Points chases him down further, limiting the 109's escape routes. Eventually, Free Points gets this 109 into a position where I have a clear shot at his canopy. I open up with my cannons and get a pilot snipe. I know in this video it looks like I came very close to shooting down Free Points in that pass, but replays have slightly different positions than what's actually going on during the game. Nachtjager had chased the 109 from our conflict, and that 109 had run towards a 190 about 10 clicks away. I guess in that fight against the 109 and 190, he had taken out the 190 but then lost to the 109. We 3 Spits began heading towards the last remaining enemy, that particular 109. While we're headed over there, let me talk a bit about the engagement so far. None of us communicated much. We were not in a real squad, so did not have voice communications, and there was really far too much going on to do much typing. However, both these Spit pilots followed some baiting and boom and zoom rules that worked wonders despite the lack of communication. Make no mistake though, that if the 109s and 190s had worked in unison as well as some of the members of my team did, they'd have done just as well. I'd also like to talk about the Mark 14E a little. As you can see, it's a very capable plane. It's quite fast and reasonably maneuverable for an energy fighter. It's adept at all altitudes and a very stable gun platform. It's quite limited on ammo count, and some self-control is required to take down more than a couple of planes. Respect this plane, its strengths and its limitations, and you'll do very well in it. Back to the game, Free Points let me know in chat he only has some 30 cals left, but says he will try to help bait this last 109. I didn't see how it happened, but somehow this 109 latched hard on his 6. I followed the 109 around but don't have a good firing solution and miss. The 109 takes him out. I break off to loop up and over the 109 while Sukyu dives on him. Drop onto his 6, wait for the right opportunity, and unload most of the last of my 20mm cannons on him. They blow both his wings off and the match is over. I want to take the opportunity to congratulate Free Points and Sukyu on their exemplary team tactics, and to say that Moto 490 did an amazing job of dodging the 3 of us for as long as he did, even with a damaged plane. Like or subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and have a great day.